When I built this quadcopter, it was intended to be the state-of-the-art in racing drones. The theory was that if I built the exact same freaking racing drone that the fastest racers in the world were running, then I would know for a fact that the reason that my times weren't better was purely because of my skill and not because my quadcopter was holding me back. But today, this is not the state-of-the-art anymore. Motors? Yes, state-of-the-art. Frame? Definitely state-of-the-art. Flight controller and ESC? You know what, it's fine, who cares? But the thing that is really holding this back today is the video system. Because this quadcopter has an analog video system with a standard definition analog camera running at 30 frames per second. And that's not what the fastest racers are doing. A lot of top racers are switching from analog to the HDZero video system. And in fact, many of them feel that HDZero gives a clear competitive advantage compared to analog. You see, HDZero does two things. Number one, HDZero is higher resolution. It's not as high resolution as a system like DJI or Walksnail, which run at 720p or 1080p. The HDZero system technically does run at 720p, but if you actually look at the quality of the image, it seems pretty clear that it is a lower quality image than something like that. But it is still hands down better than analog. And when you're racing as fast as you can, the ability to see the gates more clearly from a further distance means you can set up your lines earlier, you can be more precise, and racers feel that it makes them faster. But the real distinguishing characteristic of HDZero that makes it the premier video system for racing is its latency. You see, HDZero is designed from the ground up to have the lowest possible latency. In fact, in some configurations, HDZero even provides lower latency than analog cameras, the lowest latency ones that we knew of. Oh, golly. This is so much better than, like, you can see better than analog, and the reaction time just feels smoother. I don't know how to put it. You just feel more confident, especially diving into, oh, hello, there I am. Diving into unexpected situations, you just feel more confident because you know you'll be able to react to what's happening. See, like, I didn't have to set that up. I just dove right in. See, I was high there and I didn't care. I was just like, send it, see? Oh, see, I got on the throttle there in time to not hit the ground. So it's a digital system that provides ultra-low latency, but in addition to that, HDZero has a 90 frame per second camera, which gives even lower latency and even smoother frame rate, and racers freaking love it. But there's something that racers don't love about the HDZero system that brings us to the product that we're going to be focusing on today. This is the HDZero Race Video Transmitter V2. Actually, it's the Race V3 video transmitter. I'm Joshua from the future, and I realized Joshua in the past did a bad job and didn't prepare adequately to record the video, and I have done my research. The Race V3 video transmitter has a couple improvements over the Race V2 that came before it. The first one is that it is just a little bit smaller and it is more able to fit inside a racing frame. Let me show you what I mean by that. Here's the Race V2, and you can see that it has 20mm mounting, but if I were to actually try and put it inside this frame, it would be just a little uncomfortably large, although my ESC is also uncomfortably large, so maybe it's not that big a deal. Nevertheless, I'm sure any racer would agree that something being a little bit smaller and easier to mount inside a tight racing frame is a good idea. The next thing that they've done is they've made the PCB thicker. It is I think it's a 1.8 millimeter PCB, but I'd have to read I thought I said I did the research. It's a thicker PCB, and that improves durability. There have also been a couple of other changes that they've made to the way that the components are soldered onto the board to try to improve the survivability of this video transmitter in a harsh, collision-filled racing environment. Another change they've made that you will get to see me be surprised by later in the video because I didn't do my research is that they've made it so that it can connect to a flight controller using the standard DJI plug that most flight controllers have. In the past, you had to do custom soldering to get the HDZero video transmitter to work, or you had to sort of jump through some hoops. Not anymore. The Race V3 comes pre-soldered with a plug that is ready to plug in to any flight controller that has a DJI plug ready to go. Very, very nice. And finally, they have improved the voltage range of the video transmitter. It can take down to 4 volts. So if you want to run it off a 5-volt video transmitter or 5-volt regulator, which some racers prefer to run their video transmitter off 5 volts, you can. However, it will take up to 12 volts. So if you want to use it off the 10-volt regulator that many flight controllers have for digital video transmitters, that will work as well. And the first thing I'm going to do is take the top plate off here, and we're going to take the old video transmitter out. And the video transmitter that we're taking out is Immersion RC Ghost. I have to say, Immersion RC Ghost is still probably the most popular analog video transmitter used for racing. It's got a lot going for it, and one of the things it's got going for it is that you can have the video transmitter and the receiver in a single board. Super convenient and super compact in a build like this. You'll see in just a second when I get the top off. Whoop, there it is. So here is my analog video transmitter and receiver all in one device. And oh, by the way, we're going to have to add a receiver to this, but that's okay because I've switched to Express LRS for most of my builds anyway. So that means I won't have to put my Ghost module in when I am going to go race. It also means I'm going to have to find somewhere to put a receiver in this build, which is not going to be nice, but we'll figure it out. Anybody want a free Ghost video transmitter? I've got like this one, and I've got like 2 or 3 spares that I bought that I probably am not going to end up using. I always buy spares, and then if I don't use them before I upgrade the equipment, they're no good. I just noticed that this flight controller has a DJI plug. Wouldn't it be amazing if this could plug right in here to the DJI plug and everything would magically work? Wouldn't that be incredible? Come on, HDZero. Have thought of that already and done it. Let me check the pinout. Okay, so pinout is 4 to 12 volts. Is that right? 4 to 12 volts. Oh no, that's gonna work. This is a 10 volt output. We're good. Ground, TX, RX. Oh my God, it does. It plugs right into the DJI plug. HDZero, best video transmitter ever. So for anybody who's wondering, how do you connect the HDZero video transmitter to the flight controller? The short answer is that you plug it in to the DJI plug on the flight controller. Let's get this sucker mounted up. That was so freaking easy. I thought I was gonna have to get my soldering iron going. The HDZero VTX has some vibration isolating gummies that come with it. Make sure that you install them the right way up. You see there's a thick side and a thin side. I like to put the thick side down so that it has more spacing between it and the flight controller. These can be a pain in the ass to install. My preferred way to do it is to kind of jam one side in and then carefully poke through to the other side with a 1.5 millimeter driver. You have to be real careful if you do this not to puncture the gummy. Some people will do it with a piece of dental floss and they'll use it to pull it through. I've never found that necessary. Be real careful as you do this, as there are lots of components on this board that you could damage. Which way is the right way up? We're going to be installing it with the plugs facing up, so make sure that you are aware of that when you're putting the thick side of the gummy down. And for God's sakes, there are a lot of components here. I'm going to be real careful not to damage them. Oh yeah, there's tiny resistors everywhere that I would just knock right the fuck off. That's done, and how is this going to get installed? I'm guessing the camera connector is going to go facing forward. Sort of makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah. I'll just tuck this up underneath. No, we're good. We're good. We got enough room here. No problem. Fortunately, the HDZero system can use the exact same left-hand polarized antenna that I've been using for my analog connection. I'm going to need to kind of wiggle this wire in a different way from how it has been. Yeah, that's probably going to be okay. The rule of thumb with coaxial cable is you definitely don't want to crimp it, and you want to bend it as little as possible, but a little bit of bending is acceptable. What can I do? How can I fix that? Let's unplug this. Let's see if we can figure out a better way to do this. Okay. What if we took that off and we like tried to, yeah, how's that going to do? Is that going to do good? It's not very pretty, but it has no major kinks or crimps. I think it'll do. And now, what really makes this special, the Runcam HDZero 90 FPS camera. Frankly, if you're racing, this is the camera you want. HDZero is good for racing because of its low latency, no matter what camera you're using, but the best is this 90 FPS camera, which has the lowest possible latency and the smoothest possible frame rate. You're just not getting the whole thing if you're not using this camera for racing. We're going to pop this MIPI connector on here. Just presses down. It just presses down, I said. Oh, okay. I had it backwards. It presses down this way. And hopefully this camera will drop right in to the previous 3D printed housing. And I think the right side up is the wire out the top. All right, good. That just dropped right in. And that's going to go right there. And then I have to figure out where to install an Express LRS receiver, but this is an HDZero video, not an Express LRS video, so I will leave that for the off-camera part. The next time you see me, I will be at the desk and we will configure the flight controller to work correctly with this video transmitter. Oh yeah, there's flight controller setup to do. It's not mandatory, but if you want your on-screen display to work, you're gonna need it, and you definitely want that. Next, we got to set this video transmitter up in Betaflight. And the reason we do that is because there are certain ways that the flight controller interacts with the video transmitter that make life better for us. But before we get into that, can I just take 1 second to remind you that the work I do here is supported by my wonderful patrons over at patreon.com. Patreon.com is a website where you can subscribe to me for as little as $2 a month or more if you feel like I've earned it. Think about how much value you get out of my content, decide how much that's worth to you, head on over to the link in the video description and sign up. If today's the day that you go, yeah, no, he's earned it, then that's what you should do. And if like maybe you've just started watching my content, you're like, who is this guy? Why is he asking me for money? No sweat, keep watching the content. And hopefully, eventually, the day will come where you go, okay, no, I see what he meant back then. All right, here we go. And the first thing we need to do is look at this pinout diagram of our flight controller and identify which UART number the video transmitter is on. And we can see here, we have plugged into this plug on the video transmitter and it's labeled 10 volt ground T3 R3. And that T3 and R3 are what we want. The 3 there indicates that we have plugged the video transmitter into UART number 3. Based on that, we will go, oh crap. We're on Betaflight 4.3. I really don't want to redo this whole, I've got a PID tune on it. It's wonderful. I don't want to change my PID tune. I'm not going to put this on Betaflight 4.4. I'm going to put it on Betaflight 4.3. And we're not going to do, that means we're not going to have the high definition OSD. But don't worry, I won't leave you hanging if you decide to put it on Betaflight 4.4. Well, here's what we're going to do though. We are going to go to the presets tab. I'm going to make sure that I have the official Betaflight presets loaded. That is probably what you have because that's the default. And I'm going to choose Betaflight 4.3 in the firmware versions. And I'm going to choose OSD presets. And I'm going to look for, is it under VTX presets? Have I got that wrong? Ah, yes, HDZero VTXs. Here is the HDZero VTX preset. And that is what I'm going to apply. And the only thing I need to do is choose my preset. Yes, all VTXs except unlocked freestyle. Yes, that's right. We're going to use DisplayPort on UART 3. Those are the two options. We need map to DisplayPort, and I didn't think Betaflight 4.3 could do high definition OSD. Maybe it can. It certainly seems like it can. Let's find out. So we're going to pick those options and agree and save and reboot. Yeah, I didn't think so. I didn't think so, Sugar K. It can't do high definition. Okay. Everything else seems correct, though. Let's see if it works. And in order to see if it works, we will power up aircraft. And we have good-looking LEDs. Need to be transmitting. There we go. It's looking good. It's picked us up. Come on, baby. Oh, hallelujah. And it kind of sort of looks like the on-screen display is working, too. Although, do you see that, like, here in my OSD, this is not centered up? I don't know why that's not centered up. That's kind of weird. It's the kind of thing that I could fix if I switch this over to Betaflight 4.4, which is probably what I'm going to do. The other thing you got to know is that with Betaflight 4.3, the way to set the output power and channel is to, you go sticks down and in, and you get this special menu that is only for to managing the HDZero system. I think, let's leave that on 25. I think I'm going to have to update this to 4.4. Give me a second. I'll be right back with you. Okay, now we finished upgrading this quadcopter to Betaflight 4.4. I'm going to show you how to set up the high definition OSD. And the main thing we're going to do is going to be very similar to what we did before. We're going to go to the presets tab. We're going to choose Betaflight 4.4. It's going to be a, is it a VTX? There it is, HDZero VTXs. Great. We are going to map to DisplayPort and set HDOSD. I don't think we're going to do this one. I think what this does is set up the VTX table, and we don't need a VTX table because we're not using smart audio. So I'm going to leave that unchecked, and I'm going to choose UART3 here and pick, and save and reboot. And if my experience is any guide, we're not done yet. Because when we go to the OSD tab, you'll see that we still do not have the high definition OSD. But wait, look right here. I've selected high definition. So doesn't that mean I should have a high definition OSD? And yet, does this look like a 16:9 widescreen display? No, it does not. So there's 2 lines that need to be set based on which video transmitter you're using, HDZero, Walksnail, or DJI. And those lines are right here, the canvas width and height. I don't know why it doesn't auto-detect these or whatever. Maybe it would if I just powered up the video transmitter, but I always have to put these in manually, so I'm going to copy these. I'll put a link in the video description to a paste bin page where you can get this whole OSD dump for yourself. I'm going to take these 2 lines and go to CLI and paste them in and type save. And now, when we go to the OSD tab, now we have a proper widescreen screen, but we don't actually have any OSD elements, right? And of course, you could just turn them on individually and drag them around on screen like you want to, but I actually have a preset I've made for myself that I will copy and paste. Shabam. We'll go to the CLI and paste that in. And again, that's in that paste bin link if you want to grab it. If you want to have the same OSD as me or modify it, that's totally up to you. When we come back here now, ta-da, beautiful, we have this nonsense. Okay, so with that done, if I plug in, will it all be wonderful? Now it's perfect. Do you see everything goes all the way to the edge of the screen, exactly the same, exactly as it appears here in Betaflight Configurator. It matches exactly. Wonderful. There's one more thing I need to do in order to get the maximum racing performance out of this system, and it involves another secret keystroke or stick stroke, and that is to center the throttle and push to the right. And that brings up this menu, the camera menu. Now, in the camera menu, I'll navigate with the right stick up and down, and many of the settings here will look familiar, brightness, sharpness, etc. That's not what we're here for, though. What we want to make sure is that the video mode is set to 540p 90. That is going to be that 90 FPS mode. And if you're looking at this camera and thinking, man, that doesn't look like 720p, the resolution looks pretty low. That's because if you want 90 FPS, you can only do it with 540p. We can change this to 540p 60, which will give increased range. Actually, I'm not sure. That was in the menu, but they hadn't rolled it out yet, and if you selected it, it didn't actually work. Maybe they've added it. I'm not sure which firmware they added that in. Or the standard 720p 60 mode if you're not racing and you want a little better image quality with more latency, basically. But for racing, we want this to be at 540p 90, and I also wanted to show you that that menu existed. We'll go down to save and exit and push to the right on the right stick, and that's how we will lock that in. Now there's only one thing to do, and that's take it outside and see how much this freaking thing rips. So let's do it. Yeah, that's oh god, that's the minimum up tilt. That's like the least up tilt they offer. Okay, well, it's not more up tilt, that's for sure. Nope. Oh, don't go behind the house, though. That's where you're going to start losing it. Oh, God, I'm done. Oh, yeah. Analog can F right off. Oh, my God, I haven't even turned the Express LRS up to 1,000 hertz yet. That's amazing. Everyone should do it. This is the gold standard for racing, hands down. That's amazing. If you are convinced by this video, as I am, that HDZero is the new gold standard for racing, then what you're going to want to do is know how to set up your HDZero system. I'm going to put a couple cards on screen. One is my sort of basic HDZero setup guide, which will help you get everything installed, firmware updated, etc. And I also want you to see how to get custom fonts on your HDZero system. This looks so cool, and it is one of the big advantages of digital systems. I got cards on screen and links in the video description below. You should definitely check those out. I'll see you there.